players will report to Steelers camp today, and so will Antonio Brown. Brown will report to camp, but he's made it very clear he wants a new deal where he's compensated like one of the top receivers in the game. Let's keep in mind, Brown coming off a 136-catch season where he earned $1 million. This season, he's scheduled to make $6.25 million. Darren Woodson back here with us. We will be at Steelers camp, by the way, next Wednesday. We're looking forward to that. What do you think? Should they take care of him now? Absolutely.
We're talking about a top 3, top 5 receiver in the NFL right now. And their other guy on the other side, Martavis Bryant, he can't stay clean. He's suspended all the time. Right now, Antonio Brown is your offense, and you're still not sure about Le'Veon Bell and what's going to happen with his situation. I look at Antonio Brown as a guy who is the catalyst on the outside. You can move him around, plays a slot receiver, plays on the outside. You can run the quick screen games with him, punt returns. He is their most explosive football player, and Ben Roethlisberger's absolutely comfortable with him going to the ball with him.
I'm a diehard Steelers fan. I love me some Pittsburgh Steelers. I love me some Coach Mike Tomlin. Cobra's done a good job. I think they're a first-class organization, the Rooneys. It is an absolute disgrace that we even sitting here having this discussion.
That's absolutely true.
Antonio Brown is 28 years of age. This dude, over the last 3 years, 110 receptions, 1,499 yards, 129 receptions, 1,698 yards, 136 receptions, 1,834 yards. Last year, when he had 136 receptions, tying Julio Jones for the league lead and getting 1,834 yards, 5 of those games, Landry Jones or Michael Vick was the quarterback.
Good point.
Big Ben Roethlisberger is out. What in the hell is there to talk about? This guy is so big time, and I just said the receiving position. We bring into account punt returns and kickoff returns. This brother is on another level. He deserves his money. He deserves it now. If this were baseball, if this were basketball, although I would say the same thing, I would be a bit more mild-mannered because those salaries are guaranteed. The teams can't come to you to ask you to restructure your deal, to take a pay cut, or whatever. And I would say just deal with it and your time is going to come. But this is the NFL. This is the National Football League. This is the same league that looks players in the face repeatedly. You can actually have an exceptional season, be completely healthy, and an organization can use their finances as an excuse to come to you, ask you to restructure or take a pay cut and get away with it. But this man produces for you time and time again, and you don't pay him after Demaryius Thomas gets paid, after Julio Jones gets paid, after Dez Bryant gets paid, and no disrespect, he's better than all of them right now. Maybe with the exception of Julio Jones, you can debate it.
Any exception.
Okay. So I'm looking at it from the perspective that you got all of that going on, Max. And then I also take into account Martavis Bryant can't stay off the weed. That's a problem. And then not only that, you lost Beacham, your left tackle. Okay, so you bring this kid Harrison, who's considered a downgrade. Now we're talking about the protection of Big Ben Roethlisberger being jeopardized. And the reason why that element is so very, very important, Max, Darren, is because of this. If you can't protect Ben Roethlisberger, and for some reason you can't get the ball off quick enough, or there's things like Darius Green is there now, which is an upgrade at the tight end spot from Heath Miller, who retired, you're going to have an excuse for the numbers to dwindle, possibly. And if that happens, that's going to be the excuse for shortchanging him on the dollars. Nah, he need to get his money right now.
Okay. I think we're talking about 2 different things here. Because if the question, you only left one thing out about Antonio Brown, by the way. All those numbers come against all different kinds of coverage. When you look at how receivers do against all different kinds of coverage, there's only one guy actually who compares to him, and that's Odell Beckham Jr. actually. Against all different kinds of coverage, there's nothing you can do. Antonio Brown is amazing. In a kind of ethical or moral sense, does he deserve the money? Of course he does. Here is the real issue. You're complaining about the CBA. And you have every right to do that. This is a horrendous deal for the players. It always has been. The NFL operates as a de facto monopoly. The players have very little leverage during negotiations. If you're one of the best football players in the world, you can't really peddle your wares anywhere else. There's no real market for it. It's only the NFL, so they can dictate terms during the collective bargaining agreement during those times, and they get exactly what they want. So what do they have here? Let's look at it from the Steelers' point of view. This is one thing I do like about the NFL. It cuts through all the BS about loyalty and how you have to stay true, because in the NFL, they are ruthless.
Absolutely.
Ruthless. Yeah. Because there's no guaranteed money. There's a hard cap, so they are ruthless. From the Steelers' point of view, what do you do here? You have him under contract not only for this year, but for next year. Now, this is a guy who was concussed when last seen on a football field. There is an injury risk here. I mean, you play football for 2 straight years. There's a very high risk of catastrophic injury that permanently alters the player you are or ends your career. So, Stephen A., from your argument is absolutely right. Given that, this dude needs to get paid. But from the Steelers' point of view, what do they have to give up? He's making about $8.5 million now. Let's take Julio Jones. That's the last guy on this level to get paid. He has guaranteed $47 million. Okay, so there's a $40 million difference. Even if Antonio Brown resets the market by $5 or $10 million, say there's a $45, $50 million difference. Why would they risk all that money now when they can get him on the cheap for the next 2 years? Antonio Brown's the kind of cat who's going to ball regardless. He's not the kind of guy who's going to... We're not next year, not 2 years from now. I'm talking about this year, because he still has another year to go. You're going to get another year of supreme elite production out of him on the cheap before you really have to pay him.
You can look at it that way.
You
can look at it that way, and I'll come to you with this, Darren. You could also look at it this way. This is the perfect time to hold out because Martavis Bryant is out.
Absolutely. He has leverage. He has so much leverage right now because there's no Martavis Bryant, who was their explosive number 2 guy. And if you're Antonio Brown right now, you're coming in, and everyone knows. I think it plays to his work ethic is detrimental to what he is.
Exactly.
Because you know he's going to show up.
He's going to work regardless.
He's going to work regardless. The problem is within that locker room. When you have a disgruntled Antonio Brown walk in that locker room, Ben Roethlisberger has to spend time consoling him about his contract.
To your point quickly,
you don't want to see that.
This is why you love the Steelers as an organization, because of the Roonies, even the Rooney Rule. Even the reason that Mike Tomlin even got an interview was due to the Rooney Rule, right? Like, the Steelers are a class, old school, Northeast, original type football team. And the Rooneys, Mike Tomlin, that whole organization, you would expect to reward that kind of work ethic.
The thing about it, you would expect them to reward that kind of ethic, but to also think this is something that's incredibly important to take into consideration. Yes, they have 6 championship trophies on their resume. We get this. We get their halls are glittered with gold. But the flip side to it all is that when you have a guy that's universally recognized as maybe the best in the game at his position, and you refuse to take care of him, it's not just about him being disgruntled. It's about the rest of that locker room saying, damn.
Yeah.
Really?
You didn't take
I mean, you're going to not, you're going to, I mean, and again, Beacham is a huge loss. You shouldn't have let him sign to Jacksonville. But we understand it because sometimes you find diamonds in the rough, and Ryan Harris playing that left tackle for you might help elevate things. But if you've got Le'Veon Bell coming back and D'Angelo Williams as his backup, and you've got Wheaton out there, and now you've got Ladarius Green out there, and you've got Sammy Coates, who's considered somebody with the potential to fill in admirably in the absence of Martavis Bryant. What you have is a situation where this season could very well be used as an excuse to veer in a different direction, thereby facilitating the shortchanging of Antonio Brown, which is something we all have to be cognizant about when we are talking about NFL teams.
I think that's your strongest argument. I think the strongest argument is that the Steelers last year and this year have a chance to be historically special on offense. You have a chance to do something that maybe the Patriots have done once or twice in recent years, to do things that can boggle the mind on offense. When you see all the pieces they have in place, if it all comes together.
And I think they lose that with Martavis Bryant being gone. I picked the Steelers to win it with Martavis Bryant being the guy on the outside opposite of Antonio Brown. Now, even with this situation, I don't see them. I see them being a playoff caliber team, but head and shoulders have them being
it compromises them tremendously.
They're still odds-on second favorite in the AFC.
Odds on, no doubt about it. The only correction I would make is that All my arguments are strong. I had to teach him that. You can go, Ray.
I just said it was your strong guess.
That's what I'm saying.
Thank you. Thank you for that permission. Darren, always good to see you. Thank you so much. Great having your perspective. When we come back.